thing I want to talk about is linkages. Now, for many of you who haven't done source code, linkage is a little bit of a problem because what is it, what does it do, how does it work, and so on and so forth. And basically, the fundamental issue here is that whether it's SQL or the Vision system, which is the standard way PBS has been distributed for years and years, the back-end infrastructure for the database is called Vision. So whether it's SQL or Vision, whether it's SQL Access or ODBC or XDBC as the product that you're using to get at this, the situation is the same, and that is the data is basically presented as tables, that is files. The database term for files is tables. And what that means then is if we want to get some real work done, typically we're going to have to not only access data from multiple files, we're going to have to relate them so that the data from one file corresponds to the equivalent data in the other file. And we'll be spending a fair bit of time with a number of different examples here on that. So I want to make sure this is clear. So I've started off with a baby step, which is this one. This is a case where I'm looking at a payroll file and I'm looking at the quarter-to-date history file, but I want to pick up potentially things like the employee's name and their birth date and their city, for example. Now, both files have the employee number, so we can link those two with the employee number. And so if I now go out to my I hope now, familiar connection screen, and I look at properties, I look at definition and edit the query, this is the wizard. It doesn't like to have complicated databases, so it just kind of gives up the ghost on the complicated databases. But that doesn't change the fact that I still have my nice drag and drop environment here. I'm just opening it up. For some reason, it always makes the boxes too small. Anyway, let's drag this down and see how this works. So there's our employee number there, and there's our employee number there. So when I click this, I'm going to pick up any combination of the employee file records, and they're going to be multiples, and the quarter-to-date history records, and they're going to be multiples. I'm going to pick up any cases where these two coincide. That is, there is an employee number that matches the employee number, and there are 3 of them. And basically what we're saying here is these particular employees have data in the quarter 1 of the QTD file. So the linkage then is done basically by taking. No, I'm not going to be able to find this EMP. Problem is the payroll employee file and the QTD history have so many fields. Tired eyes don't pick it up very well. Employee number. There it is. And I have to match the same thing down here, there, so I simply, typically with all the applications we're working with today, all we do is drag and put this on top of the right one, and it sets up a linkage. That's whether it's Crystal or Access or Excel or basically any of the other programs. You'll have the 2 files or the 2 tables laid out, and you'll drag and drop the appropriate fields to make that connection. Now, what's happening here in the background is anytime it reads an employee record, it then goes out to see if there are any quarter-to-date history records, and if there aren't, then that employee is ignored. We're going to come back to that because that's a very important point. If there are records, then what it does is it creates a new super record or combined record or consolidated record that has all of the fields from the employee file, which I have asked for, which would be the name, birth date, and city, plus all the fields that I've asked for from the QTD history file, which are the quarter 1 gross, quarter 2, quarter 3, up to quarter 5 gross. It puts those together, and in effect now I have a single record for that combination, and that's what is brought back to my spreadsheet. So if I do this, File, Return Data to Microsoft Excel, this is what I've got once I close down my Access windows here. So that's what that represents. Now, one other thing I want to point out with that connection is that this is in particular a one-to-one connection. And what do I mean by that? That for each employee there will be one and only one, or zero or one records out there for the particular employee. There may be zero records if the employee hasn't had any payroll that year. But if there is one or more payrolls and there's been the accumulation of gross in any one of the 5 buckets, then what's going to happen is there will be one record with that summary data. So one employee, one QDD history